Hey guys, it's Gerry O playing for Kids First. Today we're at the screening of the documentary of Journey to the South Pacific. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're also doing a Q&A with the director. Let's see what we can discover.
It is one of the most joyous experiences of education that I've ever seen, and one of the most successful in relationship to conservation, because they're saving their environment there. It's a happy story about conservation, which is kind of rare in today's world. And I make conservation movies, and so I was finally happy to find a place that has a positive story to tell. I hope you enjoy the film. We'll be up afterward. Leonard Maltin is here. I want to thank you for being here, sir, and we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about the making of this film. But sit back, put on your glasses, they work now, and enjoy the South Pacific.
Your film. All we hear about, all we read about these days is digital this and digital that. But that was shot on film, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the IMAX system is probably going to be the last place where you'll be able to enjoy super good quality film. As the transition happens from film to digital, and we've been making movies in film for over 100 years, since 1896. And it's really super good quality. You know, the IMAX film format, the projector up there is a $2 million projector. The cameras that we take on location are each about $500,000, and we take 4 or 5 of those to location with us. It's a big struggle to make film work. Digital is a little bit easier, but it's not quite the same quality as film yet. It will be in 4 or 5 years, but today, what you saw today, which was 1570 film, every frame is 10 times the size of conventional 35 millimeter film frames. So also 10 times the quality of the standard image that you're seeing in digital cinemas today. You have 10 times more information, far better range of color, better brightness, better 3D. But eventually the digital realm will surpass that, and all the theaters, including the IMAX theaters, will be projecting in digital.
This was projected on film today.
It was projected in film. That's why every once in a while you see a little dust. Digital doesn't have that. That's a good thing. But you don't have that clarity of image and that brightness and the range of color. Film is the most realistic portrayal of color of anything. 100 times more than digital, 100 times more shades of yellows.
Well, let's get rid of it then. Well, we won't get into a big debate about
No, we don't have to.
No need to do that. But what you've done is literally beautiful, kind of breathtaking to watch. When you set out on an adventure like this to make a film, do you know the story you're going to tell ahead of time? Because you said you knew you wanted to dive these waters, you heard about the area and how rich it was, and you heard that there was a good ecological story to be told, a conservation story. But you're also telling a story, a family-friendly story about this boy and his experiences. Did that come before the fact or while you were down there?
Well, a little bit of both. I knew that the boat was there and was such a huge success in educating the villagers all through the region. And there's not a huge amount of communication one island to the next. All they had was for electricity was a little generator that they ran for maybe 2 hours every night. So there are no computers and no cell phones, there's no television. Essentially, they do everything during the daylight hours and then sleep at night. And outdoors, build a bonfire and sit around and sing songs and dance. It's a very simple life, but I've never seen people more happy anywhere in the world. And it sort of reflects on getting together with your family and doing things with friends and communicating on a very kind of natural and personal way. The place is magnificent. But when we went there, my wife and I and our team, we found Jawi early, And we loved him because he carried his ukulele everywhere he went. And whenever we were waiting to set up a shot, he and his buddies would be over singing. And so it seems a little weird at the end of the film where we have them sitting on the dock singing. And we didn't really play that up too much in the movie. But that's them. You know, they, as kids, rather than going to their iPhone and playing games on their iPhone or iPad, these kids are playing instruments and inventing new songs. And so it's just a delightful kind of fresh way of looking at life. And so we got Jowie, we started on this voyage. We didn't know things like, we knew about Mosul, where this couple had started this resort and made a magnificent success out of building the reefs back up and bringing the fish back. And we wanted that to be part of the story. But we didn't know about whether we were going to get a sequence on turtles or the whale shark. Those were just happy accidents that happen when you're making a documentary. You can't hire these animals to come to location and on a call sheet say show up at 8 o'clock in the morning. You've got to be really lucky, and we really were lucky. The whale shark experience was something for me. When we went to this location, we knew that the whale sharks kind of hung out there, but we didn't know if we'd ever really see them because they're kind of they travel the world. When we were there at this one place, we didn't find them for about 4 hours, and we thought, okay, this is sort of a washout. We'll do other things, and then all of a sudden we found one of these fishing platforms that had a few, so we went over and started filming. And I thought that they were just, we were going to get one shot or two shots and then they disappear, which is what they do. But these guys hung around all day. And we kind of enticed the fishermen to keep feeding them. So the 3 or 4 or 10 at a time, these whale sharks came up. And Jowie, of course, just like we said in the movie, was really hesitant to get in the water with these guys because they're gigantic. And they could crush you easily if they rammed you against the side of the fishing platform. It'd break bones or crush you. And so he was legitimately afraid, and I was actually afraid too. Had the camera in front of me sort of as protection. But these big animals come at you, and it's like, the intimidation that you feel when you're right next to a gigantic elephant, thinking that...
We all know that.
This guy can stomp on you and crush you instantly, and not, it just might be an accident. But finally, Jowie got in the water. He saw me and my wife and a few of our team members in the water with them shooting movies, and he finally got up the nerve and jumped in, and then he just became friends with them. And
did he ever touch? I was wondering if he was going to touch their hide.
What he did, but we don't show that. Really, kind of the rule of the diver and those who love the ocean is try not to touch the reefs, try not to touch the animals. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the main reason is that you can damage them and or you can also get hurt. But and so he did a couple of times, and as other divers have done years ago, before we really had this rule, kind of unspoken rule, he grabbed a hold of one of the fins and got a little ride underwater. And then I had to say, well, maybe let's not do that. But what a great kid. The kid is like a fish. And, he could hold his breath twice as long as I could. And without any
How long would that
difficulty. Well, he was down there for about 2 minutes. And I could probably do a minute. And I'm a surfer, and I'm used to being pounded down at the bottom of the ocean by big waves. But he was unbelievably talented. As a 13, he just turned 13 while we were making the movie. So he's really like 12 or 13. And what a great kid. Didn't speak a word of English. We taught him a couple of words, but good words. But our communication had to be through our production manager, who was Indonesian. He spoke Indonesian language.
Wow. So you've told us that the leatherback turtles and the whale sharks were your biggest surprise and reward of this. How much can you plan ahead of time? How much do you plan ahead of time? How much preparation, I guess is what I'm saying, goes into making a film like this?
Well, because you can't waste time. You've got a team of perhaps 15 people, and you've got boats and helicopters and other things working with you. You can't waste time. So you plan everything ahead and build a schedule just like you would a feature film. But then you go to location and you hope for those happy accidents. And oftentimes those happen. And so you're shooting every day something that you can plan for, but then hoping that something better happens. The leatherback turtle, leatherback is the biggest turtle in the world, and it's giant. I mean, you feel like when you're next to it that it's the size of a small car. And they're super strong. I mean, they cross the ocean on those arms that they have, flippers, and imagine how strong that is when they can swim from Oregon all the way to Indonesia, 12,000 or 6,000 miles and 12,000 round trip, which is what they do. And these mother turtles, when they get pregnant, they swim all the way home to have their babies, and how do they find that same beach? It's astounding. It's I wish I could have spent more time on the turtle sequence.
So how many days were you shooting, or how long were you there all together?
We were there in 3 trips, and the shooting period was probably a total of 7 or 8 weeks. And I had 4 teams, 1 helicopter team, 2 underwater teams, and then the ground team. And I had to coordinate between all 4.
I mean, I'm sure you've done this before, because you've shot everywhere on the planet and beyond in IMAX, but you have to then waterproof these bulky cameras too. Are there some that are permanently waterproof for just this use?
Yeah, and they're beasts. You're moving around these cameras with 2 people kicking as hard as you can to get them in against these currents, to find a location to actually get a good shot. The 3D camera is even bigger than what I'm describing. And so but we've got 4 or 5 cameras on location with us, or 6. The one in the helicopter is a 1570 film camera that is gyro stabilized, and the gyro stabilization system and the camera weigh almost 2,000 pounds. And so you end up with a lot of cost carrying the equipment around, getting it down to the location, and struggling to get a shot with these cameras. But it gives you this magnificent experience with this giant screen and this great projector that you can't get in any other fashion.
In terms of shooting and planning and directing a film like this, what is different in your philosophy and in your approach from what a conventional 35 millimeter documentarian would be doing? Say, you're going to shoot the same material, cover the same territory, but without, the knowledge that would turn out on a screen this size. How do you prepare that, and I'm asking this about philosophy, about the IMAX philosophy of filming.
The philosophy of IMAX filmmaking is give people an experience that they will never be able to have on their own. Take them to a place and immerse them in the environment, move the camera slowly and smoothly so they can feel as if they're there, kind of experiencing it firsthand. Because of the clarity of the image, you really do get that sensation of being there. And a lot of the screens are 4 times this big. where you really have that sensation of, wow, I am in Indonesia. I feel like I'm underwater, or I feel like I'm in outer space, or flying over the Arctic Ocean. That transport of your mind and your body, both visually and giving you that sensation of movement with this big format, is the power of it. And so we make a film that maybe isn't as story-centered or character-centered as a other documentarian might. And we tell stories that have these magnificent visual highlights that we know they'll be what we call IMAX moments. And the IMAX moment will pay off in a unique way for the audience. And that's been the success of the IMAX system in the 40 years that it's been out. Our first film, which was for the Air and Space Museum in Washington, and came out 37 years ago, is still playing there every day,
That's
3
To
times
Fly,
a day.
right?
That's To Fly. And the magnificence of this format is that you feel like you're there, and that you've gone somewhere. And from an educational standpoint, the value of these films is far stronger than a television show or even a teacher in front of a classroom, because you feel like you've been there, and everyone knows that if you experience something firsthand, you'll remember it better. And
There's also a difference in the technique, if that's the word, proper word to use here. I mean, the filmmaking is very tranquil. It's very leisurely. You use a lot of dissolves. You don't see dissolves in that many movies anymore, but it seems to suit the rhythm and the flow and the tempo of what you're doing.
And that's because, well, we built a couple sequences at the beginning. There's some fast cuts when the boys are jumping into the water, and when Jowie and the rest of the villagers are running to see the Calabia. But otherwise, you want to give the audience that sensation of looking around. One of the other uniquenesses of IMAX is that it's almost an interactive kind of an experience, where as a scene develops and you're watching a picture, either underwater or topside, you can choose where to look. You can start to look around and look up in the sky and look down below and look over, and not just watch the main character. And so that interactivity of choosing what to do with your experience as you're watching the film is more fun for people. And it's kind of liberating in a way. It's and I think that is part of the immense success of the IMAX format.
You want and expect audiences to do that kind of, sightseeing around the frame. You don't want to necessarily force us to look at any one thing at one time, or am I mistaken?
No, I think what I'm trying to do is give you the liberty to look around. If I want to focus your interest on a certain thing that I want you to see, I'll darken the rest of the frame and make it so that you're kind of drifting in. And some of the leatherback turtle scenes, that's what we did. We darkened the edges so that it goes off into night, so you can get in and kind of concentrate on the leatherback turtle's eyes and its beak, and in a way see the difficulty that this mother turtle is going through just to lay these eggs.
Amazing. Well, it's a revelatory experience to watch this, and it's a pleasure to see it here, to see it, in this format. And how many years have you been shooting? 37?
Well, 37 years in the IMAX, format,
uh-huh.
And then I started when I was 13, so kind of 8mm, which is so small you can't really.
But it seemed fine at the time.
Yes. Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every step forward. thank you so much for being here today, Greg, and for telling us a little about the making of this film. We appreciate it, and thanks again for making such a lovely film.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for coming out on a Saturday morning. I'm so glad you could do it and bring the children.
Gerry, you want to-
Out of all the fishes you see, what do you think was the most exotic?
Well, I love the fish like the angelfish that have this beautiful coloration, which you just think is, painted with oils, and the delicate, feathery, attractive style. You really couldn't fashion anything more beautiful. I guess I like that. And the beginning of the film, you saw all these wonderful fish in 3D, about 150 of them swimming from left to right across the frame. That kind of image is the one that I, just adore. And we shot, interesting story with that shot, we shot that in 1570 film, but we didn't have the 3D working right. And so we had to go in, and because I wanted to use that shot, and I want to use it for like 40 seconds, artists had to actually rotoscope every one of those little fish and to make it in 3D. And it was a 6-month job.
Wow.
We kept looking at it, oh, it's not good enough. And probably 10 different times we did it. And finally we got it so that it was good.
Wow.
And 3D can do so many things, but I'm a sucker for the old-fashioned, tried and true. When you had that little shot of the boys in that catamaran, and the prow of the vessel was right in the middle of this audience.
Right.
It just jutted out right into the middle of the auditorium. Some people think that's tacky, 3D. I think it's fun.
Yeah. Well, I love that shot. And I didn't use it too exploitatively, I guess.
You had fun with it.
I had fun with it, but, it's real. And IMAX 3D, so is one of the few systems, formats where things actually come way out at you in the audience. So it's a little bit more fun if you shoot it in a way that isn't too disorienting or eye-straining.
Thanks again for being here, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for spending the time.